The value of beauty and inspiration is very much underrated, no question. But I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. That is not I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad. For me, it's simply this is something that is important to get done, and we should just keep doing it or die trying. And I don't need a source of strength.
So quitting is not even like...
It's not in my nature. And I don't care about optimism or pessimism. Fuck that, we're going to get it done. Tesla was under the most relentless short seller attack in the history of the stock market. Tesla was the most shorted stock in the history of stock markets. So, this was affecting our ability to hire people. It was affecting our ability to sell cars. Yeah, it was terrible. They wanted Tesla to die so bad they could taste it.
Well, most of them have paid the price.
Yes. Where are they now? Just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100 hour weeks every week. All those things improve the odds of success. So when people tell me well, what can you do to encourage entrepreneurs to start companies? I'm like, if you need encouragement, don't start a company. We basically messed up almost every aspect of the Model 3 production line, from cells to packs to motors, body line, the paint shop, final assembly, everything. Everything was messed up. I lived in the Fremont and Nevada factories for 3 years, fixing that production line, running around like a maniac through every part of that factory, living with the team. Yeah. I slept on the floor so that the team who was going through a hard time could see me on the floor. That they knew that I was not in some ivory tower. Whatever pain they experienced, I had it more. I mean, there wasn't any other way to make it work. The 3 years of hell, 2017, 18, and 19, were 3 years, the longest period of excruciating pain in my life. There wasn't any other way, and we barely made it, and we were on the ragged edge of bankruptcy the entire time.
Do you feel that this challenge of figuring out the new way of manufacturing, you actually have an edge now, that it's different, that you've figured out how to do this?
At this point, I think I know more about manufacturing than anyone currently alive on Earth. Yeah. I can tell you how every damn part in that car is made. But I'm not afraid of dying. I think it will come as a relief. So,
although you may not be able to see the vision of SpaceX come true in your life.
Well, I'd like to live long enough to see that.
Being at a net worth of 230 billion, roughly, being perceived as the richest person. Do you know John Law?
I don't know.
John Law used to be the richest person on Earth 300 years ago.
Okay.
He was a poker player, a gambler. He was the biggest art collector on Earth, so a lot of superlatives.
Wow.
In the end, he went bankrupt.
What? That's a pretty far to fall.
Did you ever thought about that option, that something could go wrong and that you could one day lose everything?
I mean, there's been many times where I expected to lose everything. Not, I mean, who starts a car company and a rocket company expecting them to succeed? Certainly not me. I thought they both had less than a 10% chance of success. If I go bankrupt, fine, whatever. I don't care.
So many people so many young people actually, from across the globe. If you have an advice to them, young people globally who want to be like Elon Musk, what's your advice to them?
I think that probably they shouldn't want to be.
You?
I think it sounds better than it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not as much fun being me as you'd think. It could be worse for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard starting a company. I mean, you have to basically be prepared to work constantly, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. You have to be willing to deal with a lot of difficult problems and thorny problems. You have to be willing to deal with an enormous amount of stress. And you just got to push yourself super, super hard. I wouldn't recommend it for most people. Try to be useful. Do things that are useful to your fellow human beings, to the world. It's very hard to be useful. Very hard. Are you contributing more than you consume? Try to have a positive net contribution to society. I think that's the thing to aim for. Not to try to be sort of a leader for the sake of being a leader or whatever. A lot of times, the people you want as leaders are the people who don't want to be leaders. So, if you can live a useful life, that is a good life. A life worth having lived. I would encourage people to use the mental tools of physics and apply them broadly in life. SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, and Boring Company are philanthropy. If you say philanthropy is love of humanity, they are philanthropy. Tesla is accelerating sustainable energy. This is a love of philanthropy. Right. SpaceX is trying to ensure the long-term survival of humanity with multi-planet species. This is love of humanity. Neuralink is to help solve brain injuries and existential risk with AI, love of humanity. Boring Company is trying to solve traffic, which is hell for most people, and that also is love of humanity. I'd encourage people to read a lot of books. Just read. Basically, try to ingest as much information as you can, and try to also just develop a good general knowledge. So you at least have like a rough lay of the land of the knowledge landscape. Try to learn a little bit about a lot of things. Because you might not know what you're really interested in. How would you know what you're really interested in if you at least aren't doing a peripheral exploration broadly of the knowledge landscape? And talk to people from different walks of life and different industries and professions and skills and occupations. Just try learn as much as possible. Man's search for meaning.
Isn't the whole thing a search for meaning?
Yeah, what's the meaning of life and all, But just generally, like I said, I would encourage people to read broadly in many different subject areas and then try to find something where there's an overlap of your talents and what you're interested in. So people may be good at something, or they may have skill at a particular thing, but they don't like doing it. Mm-hmm. So you want to try to find a thing where that's a good combination of the things that you're inherently good at, but you also like doing.
When you had that third failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up. I mean, I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated. Essentially, the longer you do anything, the more mistakes that you will make cumulatively, which if you sum up those mistakes, will sound like I'm the worst predictor ever. But for example, for Tesla vehicle growth, I said I think we'd do 50%, and we've done 80%. Yes. But they don't mention that one. I'm not sure what my exact track record is on predictions. They're more optimistic than pessimistic, but they're not all optimistic. Some of them are exceeded, probably more are later, but they do come true. It's very rare that they do not come true. I mean, I don't aim to disrupt for the sake of disrupting, It's more like there's thinking about what set of actions are most likely to lead to a better future. And so, in order one of the things, obviously, in order for humanity to have a compelling future for civilization, is that we must have a clear path to a sustainable energy future. That's one of the things that I think everyone would agree with. I'm not someone who would tend to sort of demonize oil and gas, to be clear. This is necessary right now, or civilization could not function. So I do think we actually need, and actually at this time, I think we actually need more oil and gas, not less. But simultaneously moving as fast as we can to a sustainable energy economy. But I was living in the factory in Fremont and the one in Nevada for 3 years straight. That was my primary residence. I'm not kidding, literally.
Did you keep the couch?
I actually slept in a couch at one point in a tent on the roof. And then, but for a while there, I was just sleeping under my desk, which is out in the open in the factory, and for an important reason. And it was damn uncomfortable sleeping on that floor. And always, when I woke up, I'd smell like metal dust. Yeah, but actually, I stopped using the couch because there's a little conference room and a couch there. I stopped using the couch. I just slept on the floor under my desk, so during shift change, the entire team could see me. And this is important because, like, you know, the team, if they think that the sort of their leader is off somewhere having a good time, you know, drinking Mai Tais on a tropical island, the thing is that since the team could see me sleeping on the floor during shift change, with nothing, they knew I was there, and that made a huge difference. And then they gave it their all.
What kind of characteristics does an entrepreneur need or have to be someone like you?
Well, I think certainly you need to be very driven and have a high pain threshold.
Elon, you are reported by Forbes and everyone else as now, you know, the world's richest person.
That's not a sovereign. You know, I think it's fair to say that if somebody is like the king or de facto king of a country, they're wealthier than I am.
So, but it's just harder to measure. But what people do, so $300 billion, I mean, your net worth on any given day is rising or falling by several $1 billion. How insane, how insane is that?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you handle that psychologically? There aren't many people in the world who have to even think about that.
I actually don't think about that too much, but the thing that is actually more difficult, and that does make sleeping difficult, is that you know, every good hour or even minute of thinking about Tesla and SpaceX has such a big effect on the company that I really try to work as much as possible, you know, to the edge of sanity, basically, because Tesla's getting to the point where probably will get to the point later this year where every high quality minute of thinking is $1 million to impact on Tesla. One of the biggest mistakes people generally make, and I'm guilty of it too, is wishful thinking. You know, like you want something to be true, even if it isn't true. And so you ignore the things that, you ignore the real truth because of what you want to be true. This is a very difficult trap to avoid. And like I said, it's certainly one that I find myself in having problems with. But if you just take that approach of you're always to some degree wrong, and your goal is to be less wrong. So a challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell. Can you tell the difference between those two things?
Right.
You know? So you need to be sort of very rigorous in your self-analysis. You guys are the magicians of the 21st century. You know, don't let anything hold you back. Imagination is the limit, and go out there and create some magic.
What Elon has to say about how he takes risks.
No, I literally just try to use a scientific method, frankly, and you know, consider the you know, what is the importance of the outcome, and what is one risking in order to achieve that outcome. And but like I said, if the outcome is important enough, even if the probability of success is low, one must, I think, still do it. In my view, you know, some things are very important, and in order to have a good future, and if we don't do them, well, then we're in big trouble. And so, and then how much of a risk really is it? Because if we don't take those actions, we won't have a good future. And I think the riskiest thing would be no action. Put a lot of stock and certainly have a lot of respect for someone who puts in an honest day's work to do useful things. And just generally to have like not a zero-sum mindset, or have more of a grow the pie mindset. Like if you sort of say, like, when I see people, like perhaps including some very smart people, kind of taking an attitude of like doing things that seem like morally questionable, it's often because they have at a base sort of axiomatic level a zero-sum mindset, and they, without realizing it, they don't realize they have a zero-sum mindset, or at least they don't realize it consciously. And so if you have a zero-sum mindset, then the only way to get ahead is by taking things from others. If it's like if the pie is fixed, then the only way to have more pie is to take someone else's pie. But this is false. Like, obviously the pie has grown dramatically over time, the economic pie. So in reality, you can have to overuse this analogy, you can have there's a lot of pie.
Yeah,
pie is not fixed.
Yes.
So you really want to make sure you're not operating without realizing it from a zero-sum mindset, where the only way to get ahead is to take things from others. Then that's going to result in you trying to take things from others, which is not good. It's much better to work on adding to the economic pie. So when I interview somebody, my interview question is always the same. I said, tell me the story of your life, and the decisions that you made along the way and why you made them. And also tell me about some of the most difficult problems you worked on and how you solved them. And that question, I think, is very important, because the people that really solve the problem, they know exactly how they solved it. They know the little details. And the people that pretended to solve the problem, they can maybe go one level and then they get stuck.
Are you happy at the moment?
I think there's degrees of love, but certainly for one to be fully happy, I think you have to be happy in work and happy in love. I suppose I'm medium happy. There are degrees of happiness.
Can love for projects, for work, compensate love among people?
I think love of work, in my experience, could at best make one halfway happy.
What was your biggest challenge in life?
One of the biggest challenges, I think, is making sure you have a corrective feedback loop, and then maintaining that corrective feedback loop over time, even when people want to tell you exactly what you want to hear.
Okay.
That's very difficult.
Buy flowers, buy the meal, don't ever let her pay, don't ever let her carry her bag, open her door. So at school, as a teenager, I got mauled by women for being that way. You know, I got walked all over. Yeah. They liked me. They thought I was a nice guy. But I was the one holding their bag while they got with that guy. It didn't translate. And I knew as a guy, as a teenager, something wasn't clicking. And something about what I'd been taught about attraction by my mum, who taught me to treat every woman like a princess. Yeah. Something about that advice wasn't translating and wasn't working. Now, when I started hearing from these books written for women, if he likes you, he's already talking to you. I looked at that and I thought, God, I'm not a loser. I'm not someone who's got everything going wrong in their life and is like, oh, that's why he hasn't got the confidence. No, I was like a guy who had some great things going for him, and yet still, I would look over there and go, no way. I was terrified. The idea of walking up to a woman and saying, I like you, or I think you're cute, terrifying. I started to say to women, listen, firstly, even the guys you want are nervous about coming over to you. So you might have to do a little more to make this a possibility. So that's the psychology, when done in the direction of man to woman, is much more powerful, because men have these two instincts, provide and protect. But some of these instincts are kind of hardwired, right? What we're doing with a lot of our better nature is overcoming certain programming that we have. In a riptide, you get pulled out to sea. Your instinct tells you in that moment to swim back to shore against the current. Ignore the riptide, I just need to get back to shore. Which is stronger, you or the current? Fighting harder won't save you. Thinking clearer will. And thinking more clearly means I need to swim sideways. I need to swim parallel. I'm giving myself a longer journey, but then when I'm out of the current, then I can swim back to shore.
Yes.
Instinct won't get you to do that, because that requires thinking clearly. Instinct will drown you in that moment. And in a relationship, in dating, your instincts will get you killed. Don't invest in someone based on how much you like them. Invest based on how much they invest in you. People don't do that. People invest on instinct. I really like them. And my investment is proportionate to how much I like them, not how much I'm seeing there's a mutual investment. An incredible connection is like you meet someone, you connect, and you have a great plot of land. This plot of land could be great because it's in the middle of a forest, could be great because it's on the cliffs overlooking the ocean. It's a beautiful place to build. But it's still just a plot of land. Let's see it for what it is. It's potential. Now what you need is two builders. Two people who are going to build something here. And that requires two people who show up each day and lay brick after brick after brick after brick. And slowly but surely create a castle. Most people have the experience of someone who joins them on that plot of land and they both look at it and they're like, isn't this great? Look at the ocean. This is great. Look at the view we have here. Look at the trees. This is amazing. And they get real excited. Now, one of them might be willing to build. One of them might be a builder. The other one might just really like the potential of this plot of land. And then you have someone who's there building every day. They're doing the investment. I have the woman come to me who's building and a guy who's left the construction site. And then 3 weeks later, he calls in after 3 weeks of ghosting her or just disappearing or just patchy communication and says, thinking of you. That's a builder who started building, then left the building site for 3 weeks and called in from home and went, how's the castle going? You can't build on your own. And the problem we have right now is there are too many people who value the connection instead of the castle. The castle becomes a castle because two people work on it and it becomes unique and ornate, and there are secret passageways only the two of you know about, and there's an argument that knocks down a wall and then you build it up and fortify that wall.
Interesting.
And it makes it even stronger, and this one is uniquely yours. It's been built by the two of you. That's a relationship. That's why, a 20-year relationship or marriage or a 30-year relationship or marriage is special. It's because two people have had to go through shit together. They've done things together. When I was 13, my parents took me to America for the first time. We go into Disney World and I learned something very interesting about myself there. Because of course I go in there, it's magical, but it was something that stood out to me even more than Space Mountain, even more than the big ride. And it was the trash cans. On some level that maybe I couldn't fully articulate at that age, I saw the trash cans and I was moved by it. I said, someone cared enough about this place to theme the trash cans. It moved me. Often in a breakup, often when people are going through difficult times with their partner or whatever, the thing they go back to is, we had that amazing trip. But we had those amazing times. They go to these highlights. They go to the Space Mountain of their relationship. But relationships are about the trash cans, man. Because guess what? In a day at Disney, you ride Space Mountain once, maybe twice. How many times do you use the trash cans? Every 20 minutes. And what will define your relationship is the trash cans, not Space Mountain. My concern is the number of people out there who are staying in the wrong thing because of the Space Mountain of the relationship, or they're spending too much time grieving the loss of the wrong thing because all they remember is Space Mountain. I remember once having a breakup It was the most painful breakup I've ever had. I was really, really in a bad way over it. And a while later, I spoke to this woman on the phone, and I had said to her in a brave moment on the phone, I said, "Why did you want to break up?" I said, "What was it for you that I wasn't doing?" She said, "You were boring." So I said, "Why was I boring?" She said, "When I first met you, you were the most ambitious person I'd ever met." And she said, "I never met someone with such an ability to decide they want something and then get it." And she said it was so sexy. She said, "But as we went into our relationship, the more time went on, the more that was all you were. You were super ambitious. You knew how to get what you want, but you were so one-dimensional. You know, it was all you did. Even in our free time, you were on the phone, you were on your laptop, you would talk about your business, you were always talking shop. There was never anything else you had to talk about. We didn't do anything spontaneous. We never went and had adventures. It was just all one track." And she said it got boring.
Yeah.
She was right. She was right. There was nothing I could argue with. And I realized something in that moment. One quality can make you really attractive, but it won't keep someone. It can make you sexy, it can make you intriguing, but it can even for a time make someone worship or idolize you. If you pair ambition, say, with an ability to enjoy life, now that person is
Really sexy.
super sexy. But when you combine it with something else, it becomes what I call unique pairing. You find like what seems to be a good man, but with an edge. That's a unique pairing.
Yes.
And that's someone that becomes not an attraction, but an addiction. It's finding those combinations that make you go, "Oh my God, the person I was with last night, they were this and they were this." It's the and. If you want to know why you found it so hard to get over a certain ex, look for the unique pairing. There was some unique pairing that made you feel
Addicted.
like they were difficult to replace. And that's what scares us. The more unique pairings you have, the more you become a rare bird in the dating marketplace. When you become rare, people get really terrified of losing you. Be the person that has the unique pairings that other people are terrified of losing. I think there's also a greater sense of entitlement these days where people feel like they're owed, and marriage is you've met the right person, so it's supposed to all feel great. And when it doesn't feel great and when it's not all working, there must be something wrong with this person. Not with me, not with the amount of effort I'm investing into this relationship. There must be something wrong with this person. It turns out they're not the one after all. I thought they were, but they're not. The search continues. So the entitlement has people believing that it shouldn't be effort. You have to maintain that passion. You have to find new ways to excite each other. Me and my partner, we're always searching. We're always exploring each other. We're always trying to figure out like, what's going to turn you on tomorrow? How do I do something that you didn't predict? Or how do I get you to know me a little less so that you get desire again? In relationships, you have to have both love and desire. Love isn't enough. Love is the thing that makes me want to get close to you. When I feel things for you, I want to know your mind. I want to know everything there is to know about you. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you're doing tonight. I want to know who your friends are. I want to become friends with them. I want to get close to your mom. That's love. The desire to almost become merged. But desire exists in the space between two people. So you feel desire when there's a void and when there's some mystery and when you're still getting to know someone. So desire, ironically, is the thing that ends up creating love, because desire is like, I want to get close to you because I don't have you. And then when I get close, we feel feelings of love, but not desire now. Everyone's going to tell you, now your kids have gone off to university. Now you have all this time to spend together. I said, but the problem is, you're going to have nothing to talk about. You said it all, and you've been together this whole time. I said, I'm going to give you a kind of strange piece of advice. I think you should use this time to spend some time apart. She go on holiday and you go on holiday, and then come back and tell each other about it. Have that some space so that when you come back together, there's a little mystery to it. It will be scary. This is why people get very emotional about this and they get upset, because they're like, what do you mean get to know my husband less? What do you mean like spend time apart? But what they don't realize is you never know your partner as well as you think you do. So the idea that you're like this and you know everything about them is a complete illusion. And secondly, you doing that is death to the relationship. So if you really care and if you really are a team, you'll be able to trust each other, but you'll be able to give each other space to create that desire again.
We're going to have days, weeks, times where we're going through something really serious, and our partner's job is to show up.
Yeah.
You know? But a friend of mine who's kind of blunt said to me, some days or weeks you get to be needy and difficult and high maintenance and boring and, you know, insecure, and then you don't. We get to be those things for a time until we don't, until it gets too much for somebody else, because we need to be, at the very least, we need to show our partner we're committed to our own growth. I need to do the work to be the most loving, confident person I can be in this world.
Sometimes you have to do something new. It doesn't even matter what it is necessarily. It just matters that it takes your brain to a different train of thought, a different idea, a different moment. We're so used to getting our house exactly the way we know it all the time and having the wheel just turning the same way. Sometimes turning the wheel on its side and giving yourself something else to think about is one of the most valuable things you could do for your life, for your relationship, for your mental health, for your creativity, for everything.